Good afternoon again. To follow up, I'm going to continue with the cargo facilities of the new airport. What are we driving about the cargo in Turkey? What is the sector is doing at the moment? Where are we at the logistic partners? And what is the global which is going on? And why we need to do what we need to achieve in order to compensate much more in the global economy. So that's why I put some small agenda, the small quick ones. The growth of volumes and values, and the Istanbul current airport's quick outlooks, and the new airport cargo facility, and what will be the challenges. As you might see, IATA economic chart of the week, the growth of rising freight ton kilometer is increasing on a yearly basis. Therefore, we are really getting into a good communication levels with the global authority and the global cargo volume ratings, is that we are going into a really good areas for the moment. But then what will be the impact of this as a countries and as a emerging markets? That will show the growth of that. The cargo activities is mostly driven by the sustained growth of the air freight volume, notably in emerging regions, which we are in as a Turkey. So in order to gain this dimensions of this increase, as a Turkey, we have to be really much more reliable. We have to care about our core values. And we are really have to act as a smart operators, smart goals in the logistics sector. Therefore, we can have a chance to grow. But if we just stay as a statistical mentalities, unfortunately, we cannot find much more room to grow in this sector. If you look at the Turkish cargo growth in air cargo, as you can see from 2003 to 2015, there will be around 200% increase, where we can achieve a lot. And we have a room to achieve much more in this sector. And if we get into the airports of Turkey, then we can easily see that the main biggest portion has been taken by Istanbul Airport, which is 61%, and 11% is followed up by Sabiha Gökçen. And importantly, with Antalya, Izmir, Ankara, Istanbul, these are the countries, cities in the mostly country logistic partners are driven by the business of cargo, but Istanbul and Sabiha is the much more crucial one that we need to take care, because if we have a smart operational things, that these growth can be much more easier for us, for our country. And this is really interesting. If you look at the Turkish logistics mode of transport as a value that also mentioned by Mr. Stefan Noor, so this is so much critical. Air freight is growing on value as well, according to the Turkish mode of transportations. We were 19% in 2014, but now we are reaching into the 24%. So this seems to be small, but 5% increase is creating a huge GDP increase, which is also mentioned like 1% getting into around 6% of GDP increase. So imagine if we make a 5% within 2 years, then we have a really good achievement model that we are putting on the table. But unfortunately, if you look at the global air cargo airports rankings, although we are the 18th biggest country in GDP base and 14th biggest airport on passenger traffics, but unlikely we are still not in the top 20 cargo airports in the world globally now. So therefore, we have to achieve much more things around. As I told you, 72% of this volume has been carried by Atatürk Airport and Sabiha Gökçen. As a draft basis, so most of you are aware about that, Atatürk Airport has 3 runways, so owned by DHY airport authorities and managed by Ministry of Transportation, and Sabiha is owned by the Defense Management on the transportation segment, and the terminals is managed by Malaysia Airport. And they're also doing a really great opportunities for the country. When we look at the Istanbul Airport, as Mr. Abdullah told all the generic things about it, so I'm not getting into that details because we were going to need to be focused on the cargo most probably. And I'm just curious about the supporting area of this, which is 1.4 million kilometers, which is difficult, will have a lot of impacts on the networks, and if we larger our cargo facilities, that will give us more rooms to grow in the cargo facilities as well. Where we can be focused on the support facilities and the cargo facility areas, rest at the terminals and ground to the terminal areas transitions are the most important part as on cargo. As you can see, there are two parts that we will driven, the ground handling and catering areas part, and there is an air tunnel underneath, and there is also a cargo facility area where the warehouses, the forwarders, and the customs areas are. MNG is based on the entrance of this area. We will have an export and import warehouse online facilities there. If we get a bit deeper, as you can see, when you enter the airport, so MNG is here, there will be other stakeholders of the companies and the ground handling companies, offline warehouses. There are some online warehouses. Offline warehouses doesn't belong to a customs authority, so they will be like a logistic warehouse depot mentality. But the online warehouses, which is not, will create a lot of good opportunities because all the cargo freighter aircraft will be parked in front of the facilities, which will have a huge positive impact that we can make much more quicker operations with a reliable partners. Forwarders will gonna be based in this area. All the forwarders will have offices there, so they will run their businesses, and there is a customs will be beyond it. Therefore, all the forwarders, customs, online warehouses, airlines, ground handling companies, they will be all fit in the same area. If you make a good collaboration, you will have a much more huge growth potential, as we mentioned, in the global increasing of the market. The only thing that I have to mention here, after this, we will gonna show you later, there will be an airside tunnel after Cargo City, and the distances are a bit higher than you imagine. But if you are building a huge airport, then we have to start dealing with that, and we have to try to get some smart challenges in order to make how we can run the business much more clearly. If we look at the handling area side, which is on the below of it, so there is the road that we can go by from the land side. So we will get all these roads to reach the handling areas and also to get into the cargo city phases. This is also like a 3 kilometers of driven road to reach the total cargo capacity areas. And this is the cargo city phases. So we have seen this area as a cargo city, and that area has the handling and other support facilities areas. But when you get into these tunnels, the terminal is here. So the most of the carriage on the air cargo business is driven by the belly cargo. In that case, all the belly freighters or belly cargos must make these roads again and again to reach to their final aircraft distributions, and in order to make much more clear operational on the call loads. So that might be a good challenge for us. But in case with this bigger, with these capacities, if we have much more things to do on the smart finding, smart growth, with the making all these collaborations, this will be some advantages to our country as well. What are the challenges? We have an operational readiness and airport transport, ORAT has been mentioned. So will it be a big bang? Or can we change the airport operations from one day to another to Istanbul? This is still under discussion with airport authorities, with civil aviation, with stakeholders, and all of us are still working on it, how we can transfer all these equipment, all these bunch of things into the new airport. Shall we start in a day, or shall we have to make it a smarter ways? How we can make it is still under discussion, which needs to be really taken into consideration by the sector. And improvements on custom transit procedures is much more things that we have to do. We will come back to that, and but cross-border management systems and the liability on that is much more thinking that Turkey has to be worked on the logistics sector. Otherwise, we cannot make it happen. Because as a compliance, if you cannot make it quicker, you cannot gain the transit business as well. And also efficiency on customs with the hub and spoke mentality. If you make something goods as a feeder aircraft, if you bring it somewhere with a smaller aircraft, and if you need to make it into a larger aircraft, there should be a quick transition of the customs, on the operational wise, on the ground handling wise. If we can make it happen, then we can be a good hub and spoke mentality. If we cannot manage to do it, and if we block the shipments, which needs to be go on the next flight, and if we delay it, then we start losing the business in the customer. In that sense, when we are talking about the e-commerce and the customer behaviors, we have to act as a customer. So how we behave is their behaves. So we have to understand each other, and we have to collaborate on this mentality to create some much more smart goals. If we don't do it, unfortunately, we will be just a port-to-port carriers, and we cannot make our sector grow as we want to. And 24/7 full operations on customs, this is still an ongoing challenge for us, because we cannot even drive with the customs 24 hours mentality, and on the cargo business, we have to make this happen now. Otherwise, with these big airports, with these good and hub and spoke mentalities, we cannot go anywhere. And easy access to the city areas, which is shown by Mr. Abdullah. So there is about 35 kilometers, which belongs to our airport now. So this will increase the timings for the logistics, because the trucks has to go much more ways. And for the workers, it is still an interesting part. So we also have to really create a good railways and good metro stations, and maybe carrying the cargo with the railway activities. And we have to much more create some additional accesses to the airport to improve our logistics. And multimodal and intermodal transportation, it is near to the seaside. If railway will gonna be there, which is discussion with DHMI at the moment. So if we can make this also work together, so we can create a good intermodal strategies and multimodal strategies, which will have a good collaboration in the sector, and we can grow our air cargo volumes. And the competencies and quality of logistics service are going to cover all of this. So if we're going to make it all this happen with a good collaboration, that means we can start working on a much more competence and quality logistics of service. And also, at the end, we have to be reduced to logistic cost of operations, which is traders are looking for, and everybody is looking for that. And we have to work really close with each other, with the governmental bodies, with the stakeholders, with the airlines, with the other mode of transportations, and we have to make this happen. Otherwise, we cannot be much more competitive in the area. Finally, I would like to show you this, because we are thinking about good things will happen to us. Fine, agree. And we have to make some smart goals, which I mentioned. So if you look at the Turkish Logistic Performance Index, unlikely we are in 2012, we were in rank 27. 2014, we are in 30. In 2016, we are in 34. So we are going down. Our Logistic Performance Index is going down. So we have to work for each of these rankings and all the indexes, which is one of them is the critical, the efficiency of customs and border management clearance, which is also shown by Mr. Stefan, the compliance of a transit border management, which we are still on the high level from Europe, and also on the cost-wise, we are still higher. So all these has to create some logistic performance indexes that we need to work on to make our country much more reliable and much more with a big transit hub. Therefore, we need to work on these each indicators to improve our logistics sector. Thank you. I just would like to give you a small wrap-up. If you have any questions.
I would like to ask a question about the customs. As you mentioned on your challenges page, there's a custom problem in Turkey. If you are in touch with the government to improve our custom laws and make it more easier for the freight forwarders and cargo carriers to pass through Turkey, can we expect it to improve for the 2018 on the opening of the new airport? Is it going to improve? Are you in touch with the government?
Yeah, we are working so closely with the customs authorities and also with the Logistic Partner Association. We are all getting together, and like this morning we have a meeting with IATA together, how the associations will need to work together, how we improve the e-freight, how we improve the secure logistics. We are all discussing that with the governmental bodies as well, and we are explaining all these things to them. Just one example I can tell you, when you have a passenger on the transit, we never ask them to take out their luggages and get out and get inside again. So otherwise we don't have a transit passenger on board, because nobody would like to fly with Turkish Airlines if we do that. And we have to do the same in the cargo, which is one of the biggest smart role mentality experience that we are putting on the table, and we are asking them that we need to do the same in cargo. Otherwise, we cannot be in a hub and spoke mentality. So we are pushing it, and they are understanding it. They know how it works, but the governmental bodies is sometimes difficult to handle all those things, but they are challenging themselves as well, I can tell you that.
You mentioned that the logistic performance index of Turkey is going down.
Yes.
Are you sure it's going down, or isn't other country going up?
The other countries on the competition is
Yes.
making much more lower
Yes.
performances than us, which is a good example that you have given before Morocco.
Yes.
So country, governmental bodies, stakeholders, logistics, everybody has to be on the same manner, looking at the same way to improve this performance index. Otherwise, we cannot make it happen.
Yeah, so don't be sad to see these numbers. It's not just because you are going down. It's the others that are going up. So you have a lot of... because the others, they don't have a domestic market. They don't have a geographic asset. And as I mentioned before, they don't have your connectivity. You have the best connectivity in the world. So you should be in the next coming years, especially with the young generation coming in the business. And I've been speaking with a few of them during the break. I mean, you have very bright people, so I'm pretty sure you can achieve a lot. And I bet, I'm willing to make a bet that in 2020 you will be far much above that.
Maybe it will be good for the universities to take each of these indexes and make a workshop groups and to see where we are as a country and what we need to do in order to improve this.
Yes.
So that can be a good challenge and things to do for the universities as well.
I'm not sure how you have a deep information about this graph, but you know the ability to track and trace consignment.
Yes.
In 2014, we were the 19,
yes.
which is the best score in this graph, and in 2016, which is 43, which is the worst score in this graph as well.
Yes.
Do you know the reason behind this?
Softwares and implementation of technologies, customer behavior. So in the
What happened in the last 2 years? That's why I don't understand. In between 2014 to 2016.
Yes, because the others are doing much more greater than us. Like Morocco was the simpler example of it. So we need to work on why it is this, why we have rankings going down. That's why I mentioned this should be a good challenge that we need to understand. What we are doing not good, not what we are doing have to do much more creative in order to be on the levels of up. So that's the question that we are asking. This is the index. We need to work on it.
To answer that question, since 2012, you have much more requirements to do, like security screening. So you have additional steps. Between 2012, it was much easier to ship cargo worldwide. But since we discover a bomb inside the cargo box, now we see that cargo is also a threat for terrorism. So now you have to screen. So you have more steps that are implemented, so which is directly impacting your ability to track and trace. Typically, the screening is not connected to the movement of goods. You have to pull out of the transportation, do your screening, and plug in again. And you don't have visibility there. So most probably this is around these indicators.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, there's one there.
My question is more about the financial issues actually. You cannot think it's a private, but as a Turkish cargo-only carrier, do you make profit? I mean, as a Turkish cargo freighter operated airline, I mean, you are just operating cargo freighters, do you make profit or loss in previous years? And what do you think about...
You cannot continue if you make loss.
Sorry?
Because if you are making loss, you cannot continue. But
there are many airlines. I mean, most of the global airlines already making loss for many years, and they are still continuing. So
in the sector, as MNG, we are trying to do our best, and we are trying to find much more niche market mentalities and all these approaches. ACMI businesses, as Mr. Tutus mentioned, scheduled service businesses. So we are making all these as a good bunch of packs. So we try to balance everything as much as we can in order to survive in the sector.
And another question, what in your strategy for coming years, is it more wet lease, it will continue to with wet lease operations, or you will also operate yourself as a cargo airline?
Mr. Tasos can answer this question.
I have to give the answer for this question. Of course, I mean, as a flexible and also private airline, we have to be flexible. We have to change from year to year. Of course, we do have to make our long plans, but to do only a wet lease cannot be a concern, because I mean, wet lease cannot be a one solution-oriented, how can I say, element for a cargo freighter. That's why you do have to do all things under one umbrella to share the risks. We do like this, and we will have to do like this. With the third airport, do you think the wet lease will increase, or you will? What do you think about the future? I mean, the portion, how will it change? At the beginning, of course, it will affect on. I mean, from my perspective of view, I mean, it will affect on a negative way, because I mean, there is going to be a big, I mean, space and parking spots for every airline. Whoever would like to come can easily come. That's why maybe we will lose some customers, but there will be more selections for us to present our flexibility and reliability. That's why in the following 10 years, in the next 5 or 10 years, that's going to be a good challenge and also competitive environment for us. I believe so. Thank you.